The solar eclipse has a lot of information for us personally, and in this video, I'm going to be covering all 12 rising signs, giving you a brief reading and pulling one card from my favorite deck by the creator of Anima Mundi's herbal company. Her name is Adriana, and I really love these cards. So let's go ahead and start off by talking about the polarity between Libra and Aries. So for us to be in relationship is the exploration of Libra. For us to be an individual is the exploration of Aries. So in the wheel of the year, Aries is what gets it all started. That's the spring equinox, and it is the new year of the zodiac. When we get over to the west of that wheel of the year, that is actually autumnal equinox, and it is the beginning of fall. So this polarity is like Aries being the beginning, the initiation, getting it started. It has to do with the time right after Pisces season, where we have just rested deeply in winter. And in Aries, we are rising up, we're headstrong, we're motivated, and we have this fire about us that is like ready to take action. When we get over to Libra, it is more relational. We are more concerned with who are we going to be hibernating with, like who's coming into our cave for winter time, who's going to be with us. That is the primary relationships, has to do with lovers, partners, husbands, wives, also that business partnerships, the communities that we are involved in. So our relationships, as I said in the longer video that I did talking about the details of the eclipse, our relationships create culture. So that is what Libra is mostly concerned with. In order for us to get into our Libra part of ourselves and be able to be somebody who is ready to join as part of a community to create culture, we need to know who we are. We need to have strong boundaries established and be willing to protect those boundaries. That is Aries. So in order to have a strong relationship and build a strong community, we need to have those principles of Aries: established boundaries, protecting the boundaries, a willingness to go out and take action to do things that are not just for themselves, but also for the community, Libra. So there really are only 12 astrology signs. Well, there's 12 signs, but there's really only 6 because all of those 12 have a polarity. The polarity between Aries and Libra is about the community, protecting, establishing boundaries, and growing the culture. So let's go ahead and start off by doing I'm looking over here because my computer is here, which is going to tell me what sign we're talking about. We're going to start off with Libra. So if you have a Libra rising, this eclipse is so important for you because it's your first house. The first house, in polarity to the 7th house, has everything to do with your relationships. Mostly the 1st and 7th house, I look at that as your marriage, your partnership, your closest partnership. Secondarily, it's like, okay, who are you doing business with? Who are you in doing commerce with and sharing resources? It could be business partnerships also. Sharing resources with a partner, it's like when you're with somebody, they eat what you eat. If they're at your house, you cook them food. If you're at their house, they cook you food. You're sharing gas. You're going to places together. If when you're a couple, you're sharing resources with that person that you're with. So that polarity for you in the first house, having the south node solar eclipse is saying that there will be something that's being eclipsed, maybe drawn out of how you see yourself in relationships. What has been most valuable to you? And also this eclipse features a close, it's not exact, but Mercury is near the eclipse. So there might be some information that is part, like new insights, that more of a drawing away. So, oh, okay, that's why. So you might have some realizations, but it's asking you to draw away. You know what? I forgot to do the cards for the all. We just pause right there on the Libra rising. So let me pull a card for this eclipse for Libra rising. So the card I get for Libra rising is Sage. And this card, you can have a better look at it. It is a Jupiter and Moon card. And if you know anything about Sage, well, you can see here what's happening. It's like their prayers are going out. And this one here is tending the fire. So Sage is used for, actually, you can use it to drain water. So this can be a kidney remedy. Okay, yeah, so we have moon plants typically are telling us about water. So sage can do drawing out. Actually, if you have you're breastfeeding or you have swelling, I'll use breastfeeding because this is the time I have used sage. But you want the milk to reduce, you would drink sage tea and it would reduce the amount of milk. And that is because it has that quality of drying and drawing out. So for you, this eclipse and the card that you get is really showing that to also make a prayer, to also send your prayers and your intentions as you are releasing, and you know what it also kind of looks like? She is releasing, maybe screaming out, crying out. Something that I learned from the indigenous teachings that I've had is that your crying is an offering. And the card is called blessing, but to be willing to like howl and growl and let those emotions and the sounds come out as you're going through this eclipse process. And this will be impacting you for the next year in this area of your chart, especially because the nodal axis will be going through here, and the eclipses are going to be going through your 1st and 7th house, playing a huge role in your relationship material. And because the south node is in your 1st house, there is going to be some releasing and letting go about your way that you've shown up, possibly your physical body and the health of your physical body, things leaving, things being drawn out and cleansed. So thank you so much for letting me look at that. Now we're going to move on to, let's go on to the next sign, which will be Scorpio. So for Scorpio and Scorpio rising, this eclipse is going to be in your 12th house. Okay, so Scorpio, as a rising sign, you're probably so happy right now that the south node has finally gone out of your 1st house and gone into Libra. But now, and that's because you had the south node in your 1st house for the last 18 months, and you really went through a lot. So happy that you made it through that. And now the south node is in your 12th house. Well, the 12th house has to do with your addictions, your dreams, the water below the surface. So it can be called the unconscious. In Hellenistic astrology, they say the 12th house has to do with prisons and self-undoing and ways, but I don't like reading like that. For me, the 12th house is about the water below the surface. So the unconscious or not yet conscious. It's the place where dreams bubble up from. If you have a good relationship with your dreams, this eclipse, maybe it can bring up more of that relationship with your dreams because the eclipse will be happening in your 12th house. So what you might be experiencing, nightmares possibly. And what is a nightmare but something that really wants to get your attention? It's some big power in that water of your subconscious, not yet conscious. It's wanting to get your attention, and Mercury being so close to that eclipse adds in that extra flavor of new information, or maybe information leaving out and information coming in. I also want to mention that the North Node, the other end of this, is your 6th house. So the 12th and 6th house axis have a lot to do with your daily health routines. That's the 6th house. Your daily habits for maintaining health. And it's the minutia, the many lists of things that you do every day to take care of yourself. In opposition to that big unconscious dream space where it's nebulous, it's a lot, it's vast, it's infinite, the 12th house. And the 6th house is very focused on the details. So this is the area that's going to be up for you greatly for the next 18 months. So let's go ahead and pull a card for you. And the card I get for you is Poppy. And you can see up here, this is a Neptune and a Saturn. What does Saturn have to do with poppies? Well, I can tell you a few things about poppies. You can see here the little drip, and these poppies are opium poppies. So what happens is, this is what is going to become the flower, but before it becomes the flower, it's a pod. And if you cut it, this milky stuff will drip out, which is the opium. Or you can dry these, and the seeds, you can shake it out and you'll get the seeds, which you can also use to make medicine with those seeds. So, and what does poppy do? Okay, poppy makes, well, depends on how you use it. Let's talk about it in the legal way of using poppy. Poppy is actually one of the main ingredients in my lucid dream tea. And the reason for that is that poppy is a nervous system relaxation medicine, but it gets us into the dreamy state. So it helps us to remain asleep to get long enough to get into the REM where our dreams bubble up from. So this card could not be more perfect for you with this eclipse happening in your 12th house. Okay, so for Sagittarius rising, you have this eclipse happening in your 11th house of friend groups, the people who share similar aspirations with you. 11th house is also where we get benefits from what we did in the 10th house. The 10th house is our public persona, our career, what we're doing out in the world. The 11th house is the benefits that come from the 10th house of our public persona. So that eclipse with the south node could be saying that there is something being cleansed and removed from your friend groups. And because it's an eclipse, it's going to be noticeable and long lasting. Eclipses are no joke. They are very much, and this one especially, I feel like we're all going to be feeling this so in our bodies. Okay, so in the 11th house, you also have, well, we all have Mercury close to this eclipse. So new information that is a confirmation for why this friend group needs to change, why your goals, dreams, and aspirations may be changing. Some kind of confirmation coming through about that. The 11th house is in opposition to the 5th house. The 5th house being, okay, so 11th, we go big, and it's like the whole conference room of people who share the same goals, dreams, and aspirations as us. You can call them your peer group or your like-minded people, or sometimes people will call it a friend group, but it's not so much personal friends. It's like businessy type of friends. Well, the fifth house is your how you get dressed up to go to this event. So it's like you getting on the stage. What is, how do you bring your inner child creativity out into the world? That is what's happening on the North Node. So for this 18-month cycle, the things that are released in the peer group in the 11th house will be helping you to get more into your creative self-expression in the fifth house. So let's go ahead and pull a card for you. And the card that I get for Sagittarius rising is Skull Cap. And the words below there says stillness. So you can see this image of the head broken open and these beautiful flowers or flowering plants growing out. We can see the scorpion here, and this looks like a little piece of mandrake root down there. So much rich symbology. But we have here the cup for Pluto, which is like a deep healing medicine. And we also have Saturn there. So what this plant is about is it's a nervous system. Well, I would call this one a sedative, really. It's more sedative. This is actually in my sleep remedy. It's in 3 of my sleep remedies. Skull Cap is one of my favorite things. It's like putting on a hat. When you have some skull cap, it's like putting on a nice comforting cap. When they say nightcap, I think that is what skull cap does. It really grounds you and brings you down. Not brings you down in a sense of like depression, but grounding you, bringing your energy back down into your body, which I know can sometimes be hard for Sagittarius rising people because they are so fiery and out there. But this card is asking you to rest, to go into stillness, to allow the process of what is happening to run its course before you can go out there into that 11th house of your peer group and make an impression. You need to rest. You know, Sagittarius rising is also very well known for burning the candle at both ends. So these are the people who really need this skull cap anyway, because they're often having adrenal burnout, matter of fact. Okay, so let's move into the next sign. This is going to be for Capricorn rising. You are having this eclipse, new moon, solar eclipse in your 10th house of public persona. The 10th house has to do with how people see you. It has to do with your career and the contributions that you make out in the world. This can be showing that there might be some drastic changes happening in your career. You might be maybe moving within the company that you're in. Capricorn rising. So Capricorn rising is very, really wants the stability. And with this eclipse in the 10th house, this could really cause some disruption to your stability because some drastic changes going on, not just in your career, your contribution to the world, also in just the way people know you. So sometimes eclipses in the 10th house can not only be like some disruption to your career or the contributions that you're making out in the world. It can also be like a change to your public persona, like you got married or you got divorced or you became a mother, you became a father, something that changes the way people know you within your community. And in opposition to that, we have the 4th house, which has to do with your home, your roots, your security system, and where you take sanctuary, like where you go to receive healing. And you have Chiron in this part of your chart for the next 18 months. So some big healing happening for you in your home. So let's go ahead and pull a card. And the card that I get for you is Palo Santo. This is, you could just look at how beautiful this is. And it's wonderful too that it has to do with Pluto and the South Node. And if you watch the other video, I did talk about the fact that this eclipse does include a Plutonian theme, because there is a square to Pluto at the eclipse. It's like 6 degrees away, but the moon will be coming into perfect square with Pluto. And then 6 days later, the sun will become in a square with Pluto. So there is a Plutonian aspect to this. So Palo Santo is used, it dates back to the Incan Empire actually. Palo Santo is known to clear the air. So you would use it to remove cold spirits, like bad spirits, you might say. And before any treatment, you would wave the Palo Santo over the person's body. Before I do that for myself, before I go into a treatment to do any healing work. But it's said to connect us to our ancestors, to bring in the power, Pluto, of the past, which is our ancestors and where we have been, the things that we have mastered in the past. So for you, that's what it's calling for, to connect in with your ancestors and the spirits of the past and the past powers that you have had. So with this South Node eclipse, there can be some drastic things changing, but remember to keep connecting with your ancestors and calling in that power. Okay, so thank you for letting me read for you. We will now go on to the next rising, and that's Aquarius. So for Aquarius rising, you are having this eclipse in your 9th house. 9th house has to do with spirituality, philosophy, legal matters, the places that you travel, long distance travel to learn something. Like this is like when you go travel abroad. Like I went to India for 2 years to study yoga, Reiki, and Ayurveda. That is a life-changing experience because it changes you at a very deep level to travel abroad to go study a thing. It helps to reshape your life philosophy. So like that, this eclipse is going to be reshaping something about your life philosophies. I'm not saying to go travel because the South Node is here. This might be clearing away some of the old travels that you have done. Say that example I used about going to India. Maybe you traveled to, you're an Aquarius rising. Maybe you did travel to India too. Very Aquarian-like, to go study this things from India. And now those things that had shaped your life philosophy are now being cleared. Maybe that's something that needs to happen. Maybe legal matters that had happened before are up to date or outdated, and you're ready to move on from some of that spiritual training that you had, or moving on from some of that dogma from the spiritual training. But you don't have to lose everything, but you're maybe wanting to break free a little bit from the shackles of things that you had previously taken on as your own. And you're also having the North Node going through your 3rd house, which has to do with siblings, short distance travel, communication, and you have Chiron there, which would be saying there's some deep healing happening in how you communicate, how you think, what you know about, what you study and learn. So let's pull a card for you. The card I pulled for you is medicine that I actually just bought a pound of this stuff. I have never used it before, but I kept pulling this card for myself and decided I would get the medicine. I just haven't used it yet. It's really beautiful. The medicine is very dark. It's a bark from a tree, and this dates back to the Incans. I could read a little bit from the book about this card since I don't have much to say. It has to do, because it's Pluto and the moon, it has to do with it metamorphosed. You can see here the old laying there and the new coming through. There's something related to menstruation here. So let me have a look here. This says that this medicine is one of the great protectors of the sacred, and she is welcoming you in. Pau de Arco embodies one of the faces of the dark goddess. The dark goddess is multifaceted, challenging belief systems. That's the 9th house. Weaknesses and testing your strength. Like Pluto, this medicine demands you rebel against ignorance of the old learned paradigms. Her mighty darkness provides the tools to rebuild ourselves anew, triggering instant metamorphosis. Do not fear the unknown. The cosmic womb in its darkness births all hidden potentials into existence. Trust and step in. Big stuff for you, Aquarius rising. So let's go ahead and move on to the next sign. So for Pisces rising, you are having this eclipse in your 8th house, and the eclipses will be going through your 8th house. This would be a fun, interesting time for you. 8th house has to do with the mysteries of merging, the mysteries of bringing together. From the 7th is our relationships. The 8th house is where we really merge, and psychologically, emotionally, physically, also merging our legacy wealth. So it's like not just sharing resources like the 7th house, we're just sharing food and driving places together. So we're sharing gas or sharing chai that you make every day. Now the 8th house is we bought a house together, or your grandfather died and left you $20,000 or $100,000 or the estate, and now you are, it's impacting you, whoever that is that you're with. It's the merging of big money and legacy wealth. Also the psychological inheritance that we receive from our ancestors. Also physical features. So it's not just psychological inheritance, it's monetary inheritance, property inheritance. 8th house is very mysterious because it has to do with death. So we don't get those inheritances without the death happening. Well, I mean, it's not really so true, because if your grandma was still alive when you were born, but you inherited her high cheekbones, but where did she get that from? So it is still from generations. Okay, so this eclipse going through your 8th house, with a south node being in your 8th house for the next 18 months, there can be some drastic changes happening with those things, those 8th house things, your inheritance, your legacy wealth, your relationship with death and with the mysteries of death. That's a big one. The 8th house is really a big thing. And then, oh, there's your card. You got St. John's wort. I'll explain this in just a minute. The 2nd house is where the north node is going to be. And the north node is, so whatever goes away in the south, there's more energy now going towards your north. The north node in your 2nd house. 2nd house is those resources that are on hand right now that bring pleasure, comfort, that make you feel secure. So the card that you get, St. John's wort, this is a really wonderful, beautiful, I love this medicine so much. If you make it into an oil, you can use it for relief of inflammation. It's so beautiful as a tea. I like to drink this as a tea, but it can make you a little sensitive to the sun. But it's known for, let's see, St. John's wort kind of takes away depression. That's what I have used it for in the past. So one thing that this also is showing us, because this is a solar card, you can see the sun right up there, and this is blooms in the middle of summer, beautiful sunny looking flowers. This is saying that there is something being illuminated in this 8th and 2nd house, and it's bringing back life force. It's bringing more of the real wealth of the earth, which is joy, the resources from the earth, the relationships with nature. And this all in all feels very, very pleasant to the 8th house. And also maybe taking some, maybe get some of this, because I find this to really uplift my mood, to bring me a sunny attitude. And that can be helpful during this eclipse in your 8th house. So Aries rising, you are having this eclipse in your 7th house. 7th house has to do with relationships, with your significant other, with the people who you share resources with, your business partners, your lover. Mostly I think of 7th house as the significant other, but it is also the significant others, people who are you are sharing resources with, you are having non-hierarchical, reciprocal relationships with. So it's a South Node eclipse in your 7th house. So there can be some removal of patterns and habits that you had in relationship dynamics, which can be a very beautiful thing. I had this for the last 18 months with the South Node in my 7th house. And it for me was very startling how many people left my life and how much peace I felt afterwards. So the card that I get for you is Ashwagandha. Ashwagandha, you can see here the sun and the moon. This is very eclipsy, isn't it? Because we have the North Node and the moon, and the card itself features sun and moon in opposition, holding down each side of this bottle here. She also had placed the chakras there. That's really beautiful. I have never pulled this card before, but this medicine is used as an adaptogen, what they call adaptogenic herb. Really, really good for bringing strength and vitality. I think of this with kidneys personally because of the restoring of vitality that you can receive from ashwagandha. For Taurus rising, you have the eclipse happening in your 6th house, which has to do with the mundane tasks, every little detail of things that you do to manage and improve your health, mental health, and physical health. 6th house can also have to do with pets. And what you'll notice if you've had a pet, a dog specifically, because they require so much, that you will have to wake up at a certain time every day and take them on their walk and give them their food and take them on their other walk and make sure they had their vet visits. There's so much details that you're like, wow, I should really be doing this much for myself. So the 6th house eclipses are showing you to put that effort into your own health and fitness routines. Take care of your mental health, take care of your physical health, and make that a priority. If you do not, this eclipse can make some changes that force you to have to take care of your health, aka something can go wrong here. And especially I will look to your kidneys with the 6th house, Libra being the eclipses there, kidneys. Take care of your kidneys. And because the North Node is in your 12th house of dreams, you may